Yes, good evening and welcome to another episode of Spilling the Beans. I say good evening, but it might well be very much the morning or the afternoon by the time you get round to listening to this. And by that time, who knows who's going to be in charge of our football club or what's going on, because I think, an hour, maybe an hour, something like an hour or two before we were planning to record this podcast. Obviously some rather breaking news to discuss, so that certainly changed the agenda for the podcast. I mean, do you know how hard it is to run a fanzine for this football club? I mean, we sent it off to print this week, and it's a tough job just running our Wikipedia page, never mind trying to run a fanzine that comes out once every couple of months. But yeah, anyway, we've got not one, not two, but three guests tonight to get the opinions of three rather disgruntled Barovians who are not long back from Shrewsbury, I suppose, aren't they? I don't even be a late night arrival home. So yeah, I'll go around the board. Dave, I'll start with you. I'm not going to ask how you are because I think we all know the answers to that, but are you ready for this?
It's like supporting Watford, isn't it? Yeah, ready as I'll ever be. Let's just embrace the chaos.
Yep, and we've got ever cheery Ronan. How are you, mate?
A pillar of sunshine and rainbows and happiness after what I've been watching lately. So yeah, can't wait to see stuck into this one.
Yeah, and that paperwork must be piling up on your desk because you refused the podding to catch up on some work after being away last night, but you've decided to kind of pull yourself in.
Yeah, that's work, and it's my mum's birthday today, so sorry, Mum, I had to leave early because Dina Maria is in charge, so we are where we are.
Yeah. Should we say, Ma Maria, here we go again, or is that Anyway, we'll get to that. Steve, how are you?
I'm taking all in my usual measured, thoughtful way, really. I've calmed down a slight notch from the end of last night, and of course it's always exciting when you get another manager, or it was until we started to do it daily, and now I'm not so sure. My manager's Sooty by next Tuesday, but yeah, it's all good. Ready to go, I guess, again. How many have they managed to go through an entire managerial reign without winning a second ball? Once. That could be like the start of the century, couldn't it? They've not actually managed to win a challenge through the entire managerial period. Anyway, never mind.
We'll try and dig out them percentages as we head through the podcast. But yeah, let's kick ourselves off.
That was the week that was. It's over. Let it go.
Right, so where do I go first? I'm going to have to do my best sort of David Dimbleby impression tonight and direct you all in. So it could be chaos with four of us in the room. But Dave, I'll start with you. We lost the must not lose game, and the manager has paid his price before the ink even dried on his contract. How do you put that into a couple of minutes worth of thoughts?
Yeah, so let's rewind a few days to Notts County, and I'd say in isolation, I wasn't massively depressed to go to a place like Notts County with their 9,000 crowds and excellent form, and to lose, to lose that game. I wasn't absolutely heartbroken, but what it did do was put even more pressure on last night on the Shrewsbury game, and kind of the positive signs that there were there against Swindon and against Notts County in the fact that we knocked it around reasonably well for short amounts of the game. We saw absolutely none of that last night. It was a really, really poor performance. It was kind of, the defending was utterly, utterly abysmal, shameful. We didn't have that much of an idea going forward. There wasn't much, there just wasn't anything to us. I mean, it was a bad pitch. It was a heavy pitch. It was never going to be one that you're going to play champagne football. But it's League Two. You don't need to play champagne football. You need to play, pint of bitter football. You need to run around. You need to kick people. You need to get in people's faces. You need to win your challenges. You need to win your second balls. You need to, if nothing else, if there's no quality, just put effort in for 90, 95 minutes. Run yourself daft and make it difficult for your opponent. If you're not going to win, don't lose. And I mean, the first half was, it was fairly crap all round. It wasn't the best game to be watching. And then the second half, right from the start, giving away a daft free kick, not bothering to defend, from the resulting set piece. The second goal we gave away, my God, there will be, you could write books on that. That will be in the next UEFA C coaching manual as to how you do not defend from a set piece. I think there's someone posted a still on Twitter. There was like 6 Barra shirts, and none of them got to the ball. Not a single one of them got to the ball. And I was listening to the social earlier and he said, but if you've got loads of bodies in the box, sometimes you leave it to someone else and all that sort of thing. I'm sorry, you've just got to just get your head on the ball, get your foot on the ball, knock someone out of the way, whether it, just want to win the ball and keep it away from danger. And the fact that there were 6 of the buggers stood there, just waving it past them to the guy coming in on the far post who hadn't had his run tracked. You sat there thinking, what the hell are we actually doing on a day-to-day basis in training and stuff like that? And people are saying, Gallagher's not had time and this, that and the other. But I say we knocked it around brightly for short spells in some of his games, but I don't know. You could tell he was exasperated himself from his interview, but it's kind of, you sat there listening to it going, yeah, you're right. No, fully agree. Yeah, you're right. But you're responsible for it, Paul. They're your players. I think 5 of the team that he picked last night were his signings. And there's already a couple, like Malcolm, who you think, well, bloody hell, are we lumbered with him for the rest of the season? Because he's shown nothing. And you're thinking, anything you would look for in terms of a new manager bounce, we've not had it. It's not like we've sacrificed style to become more solid, because we're not. It's not like we've added an extra, 25% in terms of work rate, industry, effort, nastiness, all that sort of thing. So we've not done the dark arts any better. So you sat there thinking, what are we actually improving on in terms, we've certainly not improved the results. So where do we go from here? And I was, it was a bloody long drive on the way home last night. And I was sat there thinking, the rumours were swirling yesterday that if he had, if we lost, then he was going to go. And I was thinking, well, that's, that is going to make us look ridiculous to the footballing world. But do you know what? Fuck the footballing world. We've got to save our League Two status. And if it means cauterising the wound and perhaps rolling the dice yet again to try and get a reaction out of this collection of so-and-sos that we've got that we call the playing squad, which quite clearly is not good enough, despite what statements came out when we got rid of Wing, despite what was said at the meeting the manager, I'll quite happily say goodbye to the majority of that squad at the end of the season, and hopefully we can give them a boot up the arse out of the car park at Olker Street after the final game of the season and say, thanks for keeping our status, never darken this door again, because I'm sick of the sight of the vast majority of them, to be honest. Sorry, I try and stay level-headed on this podcast and, in games and stuff, but they just wind me up at times. They really do. And yeah, I'm going off on a bit of a long run up. So I'll let someone else jump in there, I think.
To be honest, Dave, that's about as level-headed as of opinion you're going to get out of any Barra soccer fan at the moment. So, we don't need champagne football. We just need pints of bitter football. Beat that, Ronan.
Yeah, I come back to my weekend. I was sat in Dublin having a lovely time, and now I've come back to this fucking absolute mess of Barra football, which is just absolutely catastrophic, isn't it? To go back to last night as a starting point, there was a moment when we made 2 subs, and I can't even remember who came off. I think Elliot maybe is one of them, and the entire way in was just silent. They were looking over for an applause from the support, and everyone just sort of was in complete silence. Our players were turning around thinking, fucking hell, we must have really upset these if we've not, we're not even getting a smile off, my own mum who sat in the away end sort of crack. And it was just horrendous. And I think they realised then, oh shit, we're going to have to start playing football now. And they did for a good, 10 minutes. Tyler Walker took his goal well, but it's catastrophic. It's so self-destructive in terms of the way we're going about playing football at the moment. It's not even good mistakes. They're just the worst kinds of, it's not trying to be brave and we're giving the ball away sort of crack. It is just complete and utter shambles of what is going on in our 18-yard box at times. And it just makes you terrified of every time a ball comes into the box. Like, let's be honest, in the first half, they could have had 4 or 5 goals on a different day. Like, I'm being really serious here because the amount of balls that bounced in our box and whatnot, it was just fucking horrible to watch. But the positive was we got into half time at 0-0, and although it was, not the best first half of football, you just think you've got something to build on here, lads. Like, I can't remember the last time we went into half time at 0-0. Someone's going to tell me it was Saturday now because I didn't watch the game. But it was just, and you just think, come out second half, you've had your bad half of football. I think somebody put on Twitter that we obviously played only one half a game at the time, and if that's our fucking bad half, then we should be all right in the second half. But Jesus, it was horrendous. But we were in the car on the way home after everything was done and said, and everyone had the tuppence at the end, and just thought, where on Christ's earth do we go from here? And like Dave said, you've just got to get rid of him. He's not just been here for 5 games, has he? He's been here since Boxing Day. Nothing's changed. There's no difference to what we already had. The board of directors and the director of football and every Tom, Dick and Harry in between has had ample time to, appoint a football manager here, appoint someone with any form of footballing credibility or experience as a manager, and we've gone for someone who's a fucking glorified under-21s coach. And fair play to, Paul Gallagher. He might go on to achieve something in the footballing world as a manager at some point, and he's achieved a hell of a lot more than I ever will in football. But Christ alive, just the brain deadness and, negligence that sometimes our board put into things is astounding. And they come out and say stupid shite at Meet the Managers nights and stuff like that and think it's going to be okay. And this is if you thought Dave would be level-headed, I don't know where we are now, but I don't know.
We're going up a level.
but the problem is, at the end of the day, I've not played enough games for all old boys, so what do I know about football?
Yeah, well, we'll get to that bit because there's a bit to discuss there. But just before we come on to the new manager, which just sounds madness just discussing that. I must shout out to Ronan because on the Given Beans group chat, I think it was about 8 o'clock this morning, when we were all kind of just resigned to the fact Gallagher's probably going to go. We certainly can't stick around to find out whether he's going to, turn this around. We just don't have that time. And our board, to be fair, are pretty decisive. I think that's one thing you can say about them. Whether they're right or wrong decisions, they do make decisions. But Ronan, you threw into the mix that they should go for somebody like Dino Mamria, and here he is. You're actually patio Ronan. It's you've been rumbled.
There's some good patio talk at lunchtime about a different individual coming in, and we beat them to it. So long live me for 5 minutes. But Jesus Christ. I was joking as well. That was the worst part about it. I put it in as a laugh, and here we are. This is where we are, 9:15 on a Wednesday night.
Yeah, I mean, we say a lot, Steve, but we've got talking there about Gallagher's lack of managerial experience. We've certainly brought a guy in who's got experience of dealing with this type of situation and doing rather well from it. Is that any reason to feel a little bit better?
Well, on the basis that, we're not overwhelmingly stuffed with positives or positivity or chances or skill or judgment or anything at present, frankly, they could have put Muff in the Mule in, and they would have done a better job than the last couple. I think he's a firefighter. He's a character. He's quite entertaining. He's well known for. I think he's probably going to be a bit Marmite for some, but quite frankly, I couldn't care less how the players feel about him. I think the players got their chance with the pliant under-21s coach who did lovely sessions, and quite frankly, if they're met with sand dunes and a horsewhip, I would be quite happy. Frankly, he's very, very passionate. He's been around a bit. It's a better shout than Gallagher, who I feel incredibly sorry for, actually. Because all he's done is overestimated his own ability, and which of us has never been guilty of that before? It's just an absolute shambles. He is as good as we are going to get to do whatever the hell needs to be done at this pass. So hopefully there will be a scintilla of better play and effort from that shower of incompetence that are masquerading as a defence, frankly, at the moment.
Yeah, Dave, because when it started to circle that last night could well be his last game in charge, the name that was thrown out there was Darryl Clark. So it was a bit of a surprise to see his name, so kind of quick after seeing that Gallagher's departed. It seemed like he was pretty much lined up as the SOS man.
Yeah, I think Paul Obi alluded to it in his annual appearance on Radio Cumbria, didn't he, the other week, that this was the first time, really, when Gallagher was appointed, that we didn't have the next cab off the rank kind of ready and waiting. So I think as kind of 3 defeats went to 4, went to 5, I think it was probably always assumed that something was maybe happening in the background, because you can only show so much patience. And to be fair, I think that's what we should be doing. I think every club should always have the next manager lined up, or at the very least have an idea of who they're going to go for, because, events can happen very quickly. You lose your manager, or, he resigns for whatever reason, then you need to be prepared. So I'm not kind of too perturbed by that. It was quite interesting reading on social media just earlier, people saying, oh, well, Marmaria, he's good at a short-term firefighting job, but, long-term it never works out. Long-term at Barrow AFC. Can you imagine? Long-term thinking? Oh, my word. That's an unfashionable concept, isn't it? No, let's just... do you know what? I used to be of the opinion that you support your manager when they go through a bad phase. You kind of help them out. You bring them in supporting. You counsel them. You let them sign a player or do whatever. You nurse them through a bad patch for the good of the long term. But do you know what? Sod it. I'm embracing the chaos. Sack everybody. It's 9:20. Sack Marmaria. Fuck it. Get rid of him. He hasn't won anything. Get rid of him. And appoint someone tomorrow and sack them, and then appoint someone on Friday and sack them, and just keep sacking everybody. Because Soccernomics did a fantastic book about 10 years ago when they said that 90% of managerial changes make absolutely no difference. Your success is governed by your budget. So it doesn't matter who you've got in the dugout, by and large, long term, reverting to the mean and all that nonsense. Doesn't really matter whether you make it. So I think in the interest of maths, we are trying to get through that 100 managers to try and find the 10 that might make a difference. So get rid of Marmaria. Let's get someone else in tomorrow.
They're accountants. It makes sense to them.
That's it. It's all on it'll all be on a spreadsheet somewhere. Yeah, sack everybody. Sorry.
Yeah, that's very much the view of an economist. It sounds like other views are available there. So there'll be a few different opinions in different camps there. But from what we know about Dino, he runs a different type of operation, certainly from training. There's going to be a few players in for a bit of a shock, Ronan, if they've been kind of cruising through the week at the training ground, not really kind of working maybe as hard as they should. They're in for a bit of a culture shock.
Yeah, I thought I was going to get sacked then and replaced by Les the Kitman on the podcast after Dave's rant there, but I didn't know where we were going to go. Yeah, I'm delighting me. I actually genuinely want to look out my window where I live on top of Semi Hill, right? In obviously just outside the ground, but if you're not local and you, for some strange reason, would be listening to this, Christ only knows why. I just want to see people running up and down Semi Hill out the side of the house. I literally want to see, like, Benham at the bottom, Niall Canavan tugging the kit van up the road with, things on their back and shit like that. That's what I'm after, mate. I couldn't give a shit about winning games of football. I just want them flogged, like just till the end. Like, but on a serious note, like, and this is that I'm going to go on a rant again. Like, you've had your chance, you've got your manager you wanted, who had the nice sessions and stuff like that. Like, you've got, I want them in 6-7 days a week until we start winning games of football. It's the whole Paolo Di Canio sort of crack where you just keep going, you keep going, and yeah, we might end up breaking down, our squad that I made of, biscuits. Shout out to Carlisle. But we've got to do something different because we've been too nice with him. We've been too honest with him. And I'll tell you what was I had a weird point last night because I went to the front with everybody else, but I didn't. I did the shouting and raving that I said I wasn't going to do, but not in a negative way. It was more of like a, this is rock bottom. The only way from here is sort of, up. And I think the players really needed to see 50 to 40, sorry, angry Barovians ready to absolutely fucking hit the roof because we are only in February. Imagine how bad it's going to be in April if we're near the bottom and they're screaming at him and, waiting for him in car parks and stuff like that. But Christ, we've got a long way to go here, and they really, really need to pull the finger out their ass. And I hope it starts tomorrow with Dino Marmari and they can do 20-mile runs outside Manchester and round and about and as far as we can go past your house, Jonny. And
yeah, I'll keep my eye out for him, and I'll get out there with my horsewhip. No sand dunes around these parts though, so we'll have to send up to Barra for that. But Ronan touched on a point there, and I put this on Twitter before, Steve. Obviously, you guys were in the ground last night, and I mentioned on Twitter, say, it would be good advice, from the club to kind of family, the players, just to kind of stay away from that away end at the moment, because it can't be nice, while your son's on the pitch and you're hearing someone behind you just kind of berating him, but that's what you're going to get. You can't really apologise for that. The vibes are pretty bad amongst the support at the moment, and they're not seeing what they like on the pitch. I mean, do you think that would be good advice, Steve? Just there's plenty of other places they can enjoy the view.
I was short. Yeah, it's a short answer. I think there's. I don't really want to think about it. I've really felt as angry as I've felt ever at a football game, and I'm in this is the 50th season of watching football, so I don't know however many, and I've watched a few Barrow games at that point, and I was utterly. I went down and I wasn't going to say anything at all. And then I caught sight of a couple of people just sloping off, and it was more of a howl than criticism. Really, I was completely opposite you, Ronan. It was a long stream of invective, stream of consciousness, really. And I tell you why, because it hurt. It hurt, and that's why. And whether or not it's, I know, it's the least important, the most important, the least important things and all that, but you've got folk there that have given a lot financially, relationship-wise, goodness knows what, to go and watch Barrow, and that's what happened. And I felt for the families, because if I was sat there and it was my lad, sure as hell I would have taken umbrage or said something, and so I completely understand and respect that. I think it was more difficult for those who have got, if you like, Barrow lads in there and their family. I completely understand that as well. But, at the end of the day, there's a difference. There is a difference between, some people are supporting a career, and that's absolutely fine, and they should be allowed to do that without fear or favour. And some of us are supporting a football club, and we should be able to express our desolation at how bad they've been without being pulled up because it might upset, somebody's uncle or whatever. So, that's where I am with it. It was all, I don't want to go, but funnily enough, at Notts County, I was busy telling off some of the younger ones on the bus for really, really going at them because I didn't think they were that bad. And then found myself howling at the moon in utter agony about, not 3 days later. So as well as feeling incredibly hypocritical, I'm just absolutely wordless. So, the short answer is yes. It's very difficult to even talk about it without getting into a rant about it. It is one of the worst feelings I've ever had in football.
It was a tipping point last night. I think that the manner of the defeat, I'm struggling it's catching in my throat to call it defending, because it wasn't. That is not how you defend at any level of the game. And I think it just flicked a lot of switches in people who kind of, for a lot of the season, been trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, and you almost sat there thinking, well, what am I giving you the benefit doubt for? How are you actually going to repay this faith and this kind of the understanding that's been so far this season? Because last night we got nothing from them. I said I left after 70 minutes. I decided to be tactical and beat the rush at the car park, so I missed the Stramash at the end. But yeah, families, I think yes, they should go in the away end because where else are they going to go? But at the same time, these are professional footballers. My mum and dad have never come to watch me at work. But if they came into the office and if I had my feet up and I just sat there deleting emails and ignoring what my boss asked me to do, they'd be disappointed in me and they wouldn't take umbrage if a supervisor or a director came along and gave me a verbal kick up the backside. So, we need to make allowances for that sort of thing. But yeah, it's not all sunshine and roses when you're at the bottom of League Two. So if you're expecting to be kind of carried out of the away end shoulder high and, thank you for your progeny, sorry, not after last night's performance. So I think, and again, fans need to be able to express their anger without being overly personal, overly abusive. Again, I wasn't there, I didn't hear it, so it just needs a bit of understanding from all sides. They need to understand why fans are upset. Fans need to understand why, if it gets personal, families get upset. But it's all. Again, it comes back. It's what happens on the pitch that if we get. There's four of us here. How many defeats have we seen over the years between us? Getting hundreds of them. We're used to getting beat, but what we don't accept is meek, craven, cowardly surrenders like the defending last night. That's when it crosses the line. That's when switches get flicked. That's when people get angry, because people can be a bit mildly disappointed, a bit pessimistic. But yeah, I think a lot of people last night were angry, and that's what happens when it's an emotional situation. Yeah.
I think just to try and finish it on a positive, when they came over right to us last night, and there was 5, maybe 6 to 7 players of them who came right up, and it genuinely looked, and I know they'd been shit and they were fucking awful and all that, but they genuinely looked absolutely heartbroken to have let us down and all that sort of stuff. And there's another collective of them who are absolute fucking. There's not words that I can say that are really polite enough to describe them, to be honest. And one of them is our captain, may I add. And if we wanted to do a full special on him, I'd happily do it, and I'm not going to go into it now because I'm trying to be positive about it. But there is some players within that squad who genuinely care and genuinely want to fight for us, and you can see that. And yeah, I get there is massive nerves amongst this squad because they're so terrified to make a mistake, and that is really apparent. But there is still, amongst a small group of them at least, a care and a desire that you can see when you've seen it on the faces, when people are saying some really, not awful stuff, some honest, brutal things. You can see it's hitting home and it's getting to them. I know it might not be shown in performances, I get that, but there is still a core there that I genuinely believe give a shit. And I'm really sticking on to that hope there, and I'm trying to end that on a positive.
Yeah, no, I think as well, when I kind of introduced that little section and that question around, families in the away end, it's not to dictate to anybody what they should and shouldn't be doing, but I think it'd be good and polite advice, from the club, if they could read the room a little bit and go, maybe stay away from that away end tonight. If you're just here to watch your son's performance, it's the vibes that good. That'd just be a sensible thing to do, because, and like you said there, Ronan, as well, in looking at the players that came over and looking at some of the families that were in the crowd last night, they tend to be there for the younger players, and that's tough. And some of the younger players are the ones who came over last night.
Yeah, they showed a lot more bottom.
Yeah, and showed on. And then the ones you're talking about, the veteran players and the manager himself, who might have known that his job was over and thought, you know what, I'm straight down the tunnel. He probably wasn't in the mood for clapping an away end if he felt he's just going to lose his job tonight. So I kind of get that. But yeah, let's move on to the Colchester game this weekend, and let's hear from Aaron again, who was who called in from the podcast last time we played, when we won a rare football game this season. So let's hear from him.
Hello, you've reached the offices of Gibbon Beans. All our beans operatives are busy getting it forward at the moment. Please leave your message after the beep.
Hi guys, Aaron J here from Beyond the Bar Side. We are the Colchester United fan podcast, and we're very much looking forward to the game on Saturday. Just a few words to summarise our season so far, our January, and look ahead to the game. So far, the season's been going pretty good, all things considering. We had a lot of injuries pretty much throughout the season. Our marquee signing, Ben Perry, is out with an ACL injury pretty much for the season. And that sort of set a precedent for the rest of the year, really. We've had lots of players out with knee injuries, whether they're ACL or MCL injuries, and that's hampered our progress somewhat because the squad depth just isn't there, and we've been stretched pretty thin. And I think fans are pretty understanding of that. I also think having Danny and Nicky Cowley in charge does help. I think other managers potentially would have been under pressure a little bit more than Danny and Nicky are, and that's a testament to them and the good work that they've done. January, pretty quiet, to be honest. We brought in one player on deadline day who was Romeo Akachukwu from Southampton on loan until the end of the season. Sort of looking at him to be a sort of substitute coming on for Jack Payne, just to sort of relieve Jack Payne of a bit of pressure and look after him as we get towards the end point of the season. A little bit earlier on in the window, we brought in Finn Back from Wickham, who's a fullback looking to replace the injured Ellis Ian Dolo, who's a big loss for us at the moment. And we also brought in Finn Barbrook from Ipswich. The central midfield role has been really, really depleted this season. We've got Arthur Reed and Teddy Bishop. Arthur Reed has run his socks off and he's worked incredibly hard for the side. Teddy Bishop has done the same, but he struggles with injuries. He has done throughout his career. I think that's why he's at Colchester. I think if he didn't have those injuries, he'd be playing higher up the Football League pyramid. But when Bishop's been injured, there's been no one really to come in. As I said, Ben Perry's out with an ACL injury and Dominic Gape seems to permanently be either injured or coming back from injury. And that's left us with Rob Hunt filling in that role, who naturally is a right back. So it's not ideal. He's done a good job. But I think bringing in Barbrook has been really useful for Colchester. And I think it will alleviate a lot of the pressure that has been placed on Teddy Bishop and Arthur Reed. But the real success of our January window is keeping some of our players. We had a bid for Kyrese Lisby come in from Reading, which was rejected. We also had a bid come in for Samson Tavide. We believe it was from Oxford, and that was rejected too. They're two big players for us this season. And if we are going to look for a bit of a playoff push towards the end of the season, they're two players that could potentially catapult us towards the top end of the table. So I think Hughes fans are really pleased with that. In regards to the game on Saturday, obviously you guys unfortunately aren't in the best form, and I'd hope Colchester would be looking to exploit that. But Jonny and I spoke earlier in the season about how Barrow always seemed to do a job over Colchester, and in League Two you can't take any games for granted. So I expect it to be a competitive game. I'm hoping Colchester come away with 3 points, but as I say, it's never an easy place to go with you guys, and over the years I've seen all manner of results at Barrow. So fingers crossed Colchester get a win, but fingers crossed beyond that you guys turn it around and put yourselves a bit further up the table. Cheers guys, and best of luck for the season.
Yeah, thank you very much, Aaron, for that. Yes, I mean, he's right. We mentioned this, I think, last time we played them. We don't have many teams. We tend to do a number on them, but Colchester are one of them teams. Going back to, 2021 here, I've got on the screen. We've only been beat by once. That was back in, 2021 when we got beat 3-2 at home. I mean, Steve, I'll come to you first. Is there any hopes for this game? How do you even begin to kind of rationalise it, really?
Well, I haven't really. Well, I suppose a flirt with rationality wouldn't hurt. I suppose they're in reasonably good form. They're a Cowley's football team. They're big and strong and fairly powerful. They makes reasonable knowledge of sort of southeastern cast-offs that they then sort of polish back up and send off. You've also got stupid, you'll have some stupid kick-out routines. They're slightly annoying in a Essex kind of way. But I can't get really worked up about them. Either way, I'm sorry if that isn't the insight you've come to expect. I've forgotten completely how to play. Most of League Two is absolutely appalling to watch. I just hope we are a bit less appalling in the new on Saturday. At least as lasagna.
Yeah, we'll come to Valentine's lasagna in a bit, but I mean, Ronan, trying to sort of piece together this, this whatever you want to call it at the moment. How do you look at changes within the side, and how do you look at the new guy coming in and trying to get some structure out of this? Who do you think will be the winners and losers out of that?
I think for me, the one thing you're going to get off the alarm here is holding people to account, and I think that's something maybe as a collective the group haven't been doing. And I think when somebody is in your group doing that, when you're in a workplace, so people are actually want to be accountable for each other and their own actions, then that's when you probably start to progress as a group, because then you'll see, naturally, people might come out of the shell a bit more and realize, oh shit, this fella wants us to, do something different, look at the things a bit differently. And hopefully that breeds, a bit of positivity within the group, because like we've said, we've hit rock bottom now. We're at it. So let's try and get out of it together at home on Saturday, and let's try and get a positive result. If we can just become hard to beat, that's half the battle. We're an absolute pushover. I can't remember last time we didn't score a goal. Like we're scoring pretty much every week. So let's just be hard to beat and resilient. And on the subject of Danny Cowley, he's an absolute tool. I've never liked him since when Lincoln came here and we skittled him 3-0. Fair enough, they went up that year. But I was working behind reception at the time, and he was rude as fuck. And I'll never forget when he came past me after he'd won 3-0 and the grin I gave him, the horrible, horrible man. And his brother can absolutely do one as well, because he's literally just a little thing that lingers next to him. It's horrible. I hate them both. I'll be honest about it.
Ronan, was that game on Setanta?
No, that was BT Sport. So we were. It
was on the telly though, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was when we ended with that was the end of Byron Harrison when he RIP died that day. So did our hopes of going up out of the National League. But I mean, thought it would never happen again.
I think that was the night that Matt Reed called me a twat and it was picked up on the cameras, and my mum was watching it and said, "What did he say? What did that big fat man say to you?" And I thought, we had an exchange of views at the corner flag, man. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
Yeah, Dave. Any strong opinions on Colchester, home of Blur and the Prodigy? Can't be too bad a place, can it? You've been down there a few times.
Steve Lamack's their famous fan, isn't he? The radio fella.
Yeah, Radio 6.
Yeah, they're a funny. Well, they were a funny team down at their spot, Colchester, because you could see what they were trying to do. They kept trying to drag us from side to side, but they never quite had the quality to do it. And just looking, the names that your man there was reeling off, and Reed, I think he impressed me in the first game, and Payne, who just kind of floats around behind the central striker, picking up the second balls and that sort of thing. We need to be aware of him, but. I'll be honest, I've not really thought a lot about the game because of all the rest of the carryings on. But just to kind of pick up on, what potentially could be the Marmaria effect. I'm not 100% sure it's all about, 100% discipline and coming down on a ton of bricks. I think when you're improving performance, like he's got a track record of doing them, yes, you've got to be disciplined, yes, you've got to be focused on things, but there's probably also an element of inspiration as well, kind of getting into the minds of the individual and saying, look, you're current levels are nowhere near what you're capable of. Let's work together to get you to those levels, because you'll help yourself, you'll help the team, and together, we all succeed together and all that sort of thing. So I don't think I'm hoping it's not just going to be a case of him with a stopwatch and the kind of the drill sergeant routine on the training ground. I would like to think that there's an element of kind of man management and inspiration going on as well, because there's only so many times you can kind of berate people for, beatings will continue until morale improves is very rarely a good way to inspire a group to better performance, is it? So hopefully there's, hopefully there'll be, the velvet glove as well as the iron fist. But he's got 2 days, hasn't he? He's got Thursday, Friday, and then let's see what happens, and we'll all gather together. We'll all gather together on Saturday and be told to, get right behind the Bluebirds and welcome to the new manager, and the usual routine that we know chapter and verse. Who knows? Because after Saturday, hey, it's Harrogate at home, and aren't we all looking forward to that one?
Yeah, I was going to say that, Dave. I mean, can you approach this game without having one eye on that? I know the other week we spoke about, well, we can't really look at, one game ahead. We've got to look at, what's in front of us at the weekend or midweek. But that's hanging over us a little bit, because Crawley came, failed, away to Shrewsbury, failed at that one. That Harrogate is fast. That Harrogate game is fast approaching, which we don't love at the best of times.
At the minute, it's not a case of having one eye on it. It's a case of having both eyes shut and just kind of hoping for the best. Because if any team is kind of suited to shelling long balls into the heart of a suspect defence, it's Harrogate. And who've they got up front? Oh, it's Emil Aqua, who will suddenly. He will become the centre forward that we all thought he was capable or had the potential of being. He'll win everything in the air. He'll do one of his long range efforts from the edge of the area, and that so-and-so Weaver will depart down the 5-9-0 with 3 points in his back pocket, and we'll all be we'll all be looking at who's available in the next manager markets again, no doubt.
I know the things about Aqua. He does that have in his locker, to use a football cliche, every once in a while. And I don't think he was doing too much at Dundee since he joined Harrogate. So, the worries that might be due on. Steve, Dave made a good point there about, that it's got to be a bit of carrot and stick as well. He's got to get that right when he comes in, because these are a confident bunch and they don't look particularly mentally strong in the terms of where they're approaching these big games, such as last night. Mamrie has a bit of a track record of keeping teams off. I think he did it with Southport, Northwich Victoria. Burton was probably his most spectacular example. They got a 9 out of 12 or something to keep them in the league. Is there anything in that type of manager that is a reason why they become specialists at that type of thing? It was the old Sam Allardyce thing, wasn't it, in the Premier League, I suppose. What do you think they possess that maybe the likes of, Wing and Gallagher and stuff don't in situations like that?
Clarity, experience, ability to get quick wins, and by that I mean in terms of relationally and getting your points across, not, and just, I guess, on the board as well. I mean, getting them to head it and kick it would be a start. I mean, it's not one game at a time at the moment, it's one cross at a time. I'd settle for a clearer header. Go on, Dave.
Oh, just because you said there about clarity. Well, when Wing went, we were told it was garbled messages, and McDonald simplified things and was clarity. And then Gallagher came in and we were told, he had great team meetings, better clarity. How simple do our players need it to be? Facing that direction and kick the ball away from our net. Is that literally how simple it needs to be for these cretins to understand how to defend in a football game? Like, do we need to draw pictures for them? Have we gone beyond meetings and words? Is it stick men on a sheet of A4, kick ball that way with an arrow? Like, how much more clarity do they need?
All right, truth. That's a bit, I think, telling the bloody truth, man. It's all right. I look forward to the coach how they're having such a much better time under this particular manager. That's always great. And how he's really helped the camp. Yeah, don't, because we're going to go in on the players again, and I think he's got the experience to know what to say to squeeze something out of it. The hope is very having experienced a few years back the full force of the Marmier's charm, his way of explaining his managerial record through using the fact that it's usually short-term keeping people up is fabulous in terms of statistics. He's 9 games out of 12 is great if that's your win percentage.
Is anybody going to volunteer here if he keeps us up to get a pet goat and call it Gary Lineker?
Well, quite frankly, the state we're in, I'm quite open to anything involving a pet goat and Gary Lineker.
Let's see a couple of Tunisian flags as well.
Tunisian, coming all, Right.
Yeah. Might start getting some beans merchandise out there, the old Tunisian. Is that Fez? Can you do that still? Is that kind of thing?
Johnny, it'll be sacked by the time it arrives from the supplier, mate.
No, he's going to do well. I've got a good feeling. I said this morning, I've just got a feeling we might win on Saturday. We've got a decent record against Colchester. And I don't know, I just think last night was just abject. There has been some good performances. They clearly just bottled last night against Shrewsbury. Maybe weekend, new manager in, there might be something. And it was good news tonight, Ronan. Every time we seem to come on this podcast on a Wednesday or Tuesday night, one of our relegation rivals is getting beaten tonight. It was Newport's turn. They've just been beat by Swindon.
Yeah, I'm watching it in the background, and thankfully they're equally as shite as we are, which is making, this a really interesting view. Mind you, there's still 9 minutes of added on time here, so I've gone far too early for what could potentially come ahead now. So sorry, everybody. But yeah, every time I come on this, it's always culminates in one of, our rivals losing, me saying, I've just got a great feeling about Saturday. I think we'll all come back together, and then we've got a new manager, and it's So at one point, it's got to come true that we all stick, come and win a game of football at some point and actually enjoy leaving Orchard Street and don't sit in our front rooms for an hour afterwards in silence like some of us did last week or the week before, whenever it was we played at home. But I keep saying this. It really, really, really can't get much worse than this. Someone's going to say it can.
Well, it can. It can get about, a turnaround of another 3 or 4 points worse because, currently we're sat 3 points above both Newport and Harrogate. We've got a game in hand on Newport and 2 games in hand, which my mate tried to console me with last night about his games in hand, but he supports a team that's quite successful, and games in hand when you're shit. It's just ain't worth the paper they're written on. You kind of dread them rather than, look at that as cash in the potential bank. But the reality also is, one weekend could just make us feel better. Beat Colchester at the weekend, Newport, Harrogate, Shrewsbury, Crawley have a bad result. That's, it can certainly change the mood, and we certainly need that heading into the Harrogate game the week after, which there'll be plenty to discuss. We might do a full history on a Harrogate fixture and just have Dave to reel that off from start to finish. So we'll wrap that up there because I think that's about enough, as much as anybody can possibly take. Any other business? I've started off this podcast by saying, about running a fanzine in this current climate. We did send the fanzine off to print on Monday. It should be here for the Colchester game. If not, it will be the Harrogate game. And obviously that thing's already about 5 days out of date within this football club. But there's some really good stuff in there, as always, some timeless, evergreen type Given Beans fanzine content. So when you see our sellers outside the ground or you see that go up online, make sure you pick up a copy because there is some exceptional stuff in there. So Steve, Ronan, Dave, thanks for your time. Roll on another week of Barra Soccer, eh?
Aye.
Indeed. Cheers, gents.
Bye now.